So arranging yourself for comfort, a natural position, or as natural as you can make it. Upright if it's possible, so that you're supporting alertness, but we're not rigid when we're sitting up. We're sitting up and tuning in to the body. So you can start with that. Start by mentally assessing the energy and continuing to make adjustments as you like, as you need. Shifting. Well, let's enter our practice really casually tonight. So, almost as if we're not going to meditate. We're just going to sit together. We're sitting here, noticing what it's like to sit here. And the eyes could close to help settle yourself, or you could leave them open, just gazing down the length of the nose. So we're not overstimulated. So we're really not going to do anything special, no technique tonight to come in. Becoming attentive to the present moment. If the mind is scattered, distracted, restless, place it in the breath. And feel the presence of the body, this physical body. If it helps to stabilize you, thinking of the presence of a tree, solid, rooted. And notice the qualities of the body breathing that are similar. Feeling the connection of the body with the earth. And allowing the mind to do what it's doing, allowing thoughts to come and go, and the energy of planning and opinion and memory. And if you think of that happening kind of in the region of the head, it's like you get in a little elevator, the door closes and you go down, 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 descending down the body, feeling the ground. So there's no struggle, there's no pushing and pulling with the thoughts. We just remove ourselves. We just lose interest in the relentless chatter of the mind. What else is here? And maybe you feel the mind, our attention drawn back up. Like when we breathe in, when we're in the tub or swimming and the body floats. It's like our natural tendency is to come back to the thoughts, to be pulled back into the sphere of thinking. So each time just turning back to ground yourself. Seeing if you can come into mindfulness of the body breathing. Without disturbing the breath, without interfering. Checking your area of interest, kind of the space of the body and the space just around the body. You could play with expanding it a little, mindfulness of the space in the room you're sitting in. And noticing how you're attending, how you're paying attention. So, loosening any clinging, any tightness. Any contrivance. Noticing any care, any tenderness that is there. So we talk about the natural state as being innocent and open, sensitive, a sensitive heart. And you just notice what comes and goes. And if it works for you, you could think of the process of sitting in this way as a kind of washing of the mind. Kind of loosening of the dirt that clings to the fabric of the mind. You wash it in spaciousness, wash it in ease and this kind of tender attention. So this could be a felt sort of experience, a very somatic sort of experience, body-based, a sense of deepening ease and relaxation. It could also be, on a conceptual level. You could say, oh, there's agitation, there's irritation, there's fear. Oh, there's excitement. So acknowledging mind states as they come and go. With a little depersonalization or dispassion. And a bit of tenderness or sweetness can help with that. Acknowledging it's not easy. We cling to an idea, and the movement of the mind, we get beaten, against the rocks. We're holding on to some idea and it's moving us and it's terribly painful. We can't let go, we won't let go. So instead of fighting harder with it, trying to will ourselves to let go, acknowledge the experience. Soften towards it. That's what it's like for me right now. You might experience a bit of alchemy in that, a bit of a transmutation. We stop struggling. We might feel some relief. We stop thinking things should be different. And we relax with just how it is in this moment. So especially if you feel a bit of a shift in terms of settling in and feeling more rested or restful or easeful, we can turn to enjoyment of the body breathing, so kind of heightening a sense of pleasure in the simplicity of the body breathing. As the mind gathers and becomes less distracted, the ease and smoothness of the mind starts to appear. And if it doesn't, then the instructions are the same as we've just had, which is to turn with care to the suffering, to turn with a sweetness, an attentiveness, in the same way we would soothe a baby that's crying. We turn to our own heart and hold ourselves. But then whenever we find the body relax, the mind relax a little, now we cultivate mindfulness. Breathing in and breathing out. And adding words there as you like. Breathing in, I'm alive. And breathing out, how wonderful. In the book, Thich Nhat Hanh says something along the lines of, if we can't be happy in this moment, we can't ever be happy. This is the only moment we have. So his instructions ask us to find what is a cause of happiness in this moment. It's almost like he's suggesting that the mindfulness of the breath is mindfulness of the body breathing, is a kind of refuge. And we turn to the breath and arrive, arriving again and again. Inhale. And exhale. I think in that instruction he is pointing to the natural happiness that is here as long as we're not wishing for some future moment or some past. Arriving in this moment with no agenda. What do we find? If the eyes are closed, maybe for the last minute or so here, letting them be open. Connecting the inner and the outer, the apparent inner and outer. Good, so I hope you found some easefulness there, some sense of resting. The instruction that I was giving from Thich Nhat Hanh there in the meditation about, happiness is not to be found anywhere else at some future time. So we hear this almost every time we come to a Dharma class. But we really need to investigate it for ourselves in our direct experience, right? So where's my attention? And especially where the Dharma is a kind of medicine is in our daily life when we're triggered and caught up in our experience. We're believing our thoughts, we're having strong feelings. Yeah. And they could be super strong, they could be the kind that debilitate us for an hour or a day, or they could just be slightly turbulent, interrupting us, But he's pointing, and all the Dharma is pointing at this, is this moment has to be investigated. right here and now. And we just have we're so built for conceptual thought and for problem solving with the brain, like looking for problems and coming up with solutions, that we operate at that kind of meta level all the time. So when we go to solve our happiness problem, when we go because we're agitated or something's happened, we're looking for the story level, like this happened and that's why I'm upset. And it's either something that happened in that moment or something that happened in our childhood, and that's triggering, a response. But I think what Buddha's pointing out, what Thich Nhat Hanh is pointing at, is to come back right just to the moment. And where is your attention? And that's where your choice is, and where your practice can bring support and peace. We practice kind of a little bit all the time, mindfulness, because the mind gets unhinged and gets pulled away. And in that moment, we need to be able to recollect and come back. Can I feel my feet? Can I take a deep breath in this moment? Can I connect with something? So you see that actually Harper, who has, my daughter, has a challenge, I can't tell where she is, and it doesn't really matter in terms of how she stands amongst her peers, 5-year-olds, how much they can pay attention, but she often gets sent home tools, the teacher giving us tools to help her manage her attention. So today she got the handout that said, 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can smell. Do you know this technique? Have you heard of this? It's a way that we can calm ourselves, and I've seen it on the internet as well. Like if you're having a bit of anxiety or you're having a lot of anxiety, you're starting to panic about something, that this technique, if your doctor might give it to you, somebody might tell you about this, and you ground yourself by naming, okay, I can see that chair, and I see the window, and I can see the singing bowl, and it starts to bring your mind out of the place it's gone that's triggering the anxiety, and it starts to bring you and ground you back here. Yep. So this is what one thing that the Buddha was teaching a long time ago, was this training in presence, coming back to the moment. So yes, we can experience intense, and we do experience intense emotions, and rightly so, right? People die, accidents happen, we get hurt physically and emotionally. But that's that's only one thing in any given moment that's happening, right? So where we place our attention, and being able to place our attention, gives us some freedom. Is this making sense? Yeah. Yes, Marcia.
Could you define being grounded?
Could I define being grounded?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Why do you ask? Well, I think for me, when I'm talking about it, mostly what I'm referring to is that sense of like not being swept away.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of the experience of when we're caught in thought and we're believing the thought. And Ajahn Sucitto calls it the floods, the flood in particular of becoming. So we get swept into thought, and the mind is projecting a future and a past and a being with a kind of solidity that is moving from the past to the future, and we're pulled. And so grounding is more like, to my mind, it's like opening to the whole of what's happening, rather being identified with the thing being swept away, is kind of opening to the fullness of the experience, and not a sense of direction, and it is a bit of a paradox too, because I'm on the one hand I'm saying, think like you're like a mountain or like a tree and you feel solid and unmoving, but it has that quality really of the spaciousness, so things are moving through us like a craving, like the impulse or the urge to get a mind-altering substance or to do some behavior, look on our phone or the dopamine hit, whatever, be busy, distract ourselves. So grounding, it has like that quality of it can move through us, but we're not moved by it. We're not pulled out or along by it, if that makes sense. Yeah.